The objective of the show really was to show two things. One, that actually anybody can trade if you get the right instruction and you're willing to work a little bit at it.
Alrighty, what's going on, everybody? Real fast, I'm just going to do a trade breakdown showing you guys how it is that I utilize the CYPRX strategy, also while incorporating my analysis of the market, being patient, putting those things together, utilizing the delta zones on top of the CYPRX strategy to solidify positions that I'm taking as a scalper and an intraday trader in this market. So that way, hopefully you guys can see how it is that I approach these markets to gain confidence in the trades that I'm taking and projecting to you guys. So in today's video breakdown, we're going to cover the pre-planned analysis that I gave you guys, what happened once price came down into that area, what I was looking for before entry, my entry criteria, and then obviously, of course, the profit that I just made, resulting in about 101% gains on my overall portfolio on BidFi. Okay, so just showing you guys real fast how I'm going to be growing this account, being transparent with you guys, giving you all my trade analysis. We're going to start here in the El Chapo chat because obviously, of course, I like to always start with showing you guys that I give my setups and what it is that I'm looking for in advance. I mentioned to you guys earlier this morning at the beginning of the day that I was looking for a slight retracement on XRP in particular, to specifically come back down and revisit roughly around the 58-cent psychological level as our first area of interest. Second area of interest being the 57-cent psych level, and then a deeper retracement down into 53 cents for some potential better buying opportunities for intraday trades. And I mentioned to you all here that I was going to continue to look for buy positions as long as price held above 53 cents, no matter what that pullback looked like. All right, so just giving you guys an overall analysis of what I'm looking for. Now, remember, for price to play out one of these scenarios, the volume and volatility in the cryptocurrency market is not as high as the forex markets. So in order for a move like this to play out, it's going to take a couple of days. So the scalp position that I took today, I showed you guys my take profits, which both of them were met. Remember, don't be greedy. If you're trading on a leveraged account, again, it's not financial advice, but make sure you set logical take profit areas. If you're in buys, where should you be targeting? Previous highs, right? And if you're not going to take profit off of the trade, if you're scalping, then at least make sure that you're moving your stops to break even to preserve and protect your capital. That should be the number one rule as a trader. It's very easy to make money in this space. It's very hard to keep the money over a prolonged period of time that you've made. Again, it's not financial advice. That is what I personally do. When my trade is in profit and my trade has violated a high or a take profit one area, if I'm thinking that the market's going to move higher, I at least move my stops to break even, which I made transparent for you guys in the chat when I was in the trade. Let's see. I mentioned to you guys in the previous message I mentioned, I would start to look for buy scalps if price came into the 58-cent area on XRP, take profit one was hit, and I moved my stops to break even. Sent you guys this screenshot where I was looking at a potential take profit two to close the full trade. Just going over here, looking at the lower time frame, we can see jumping down to the 1 minute that take profit two area was hit. I am completely out of this trade after the take profit two was hit with, again, a 101% return on the initial move. Okay, so very simplistic. I'm going to go over this, why I was confident in taking this trade, what I was looking at via the higher time frame, some things that I like to pay attention to, and how I use the deltas. I've gotten a lot of questions surrounding how to use the deltas in the chat, regardless if you're a day trader or a dollar cost averager. So hopefully this video breakdown kind of shows you how I personally use it. Remember, I don't only use the deltas. I use the CYPRX 2.0 and 3.0 strategy. So I trade based off of where banking institutions bought from in the previous sessions, and I trade in time increments, okay? 15-minute time increments. So I wrote down for you guys, let's go to the higher time frame and start there because we always want to get a higher time frame analysis, all right? I wrote to you all that the goal is, as a scalper, hopefully this makes sense, as a scalper and intraday trader, to hunt positions that minimize the potential to lose based off of the higher time frame. So that means being patient enough to wait for price action to come into a higher time frame discounted area, which leads me to another tip, which is to buy when price is discounted from where previous sessions bought from. It gives you a higher chance, a higher probability that a trade, if you're a buyer, is going to go in your favor, right? So using our session indicators, we're on a 2-hour time frame. This is where we're going to start our higher time frame analysis, because today this is where I did my higher time frame analysis starting on the 2-hour. Turning on our session indicators, and we're going to focus on where previous sessions bought from. So first, I want to take your attention to this white line, okay? This white line indicates the 60-cent psychological level, where you can see that in the past, here in this area, the 60-cent psychological level back at the end of February acted as a quote-unquote resistance. You guys know I hate that terminology. But then for the first time on March 1st, we broke above that 60-cent psych level, retested it, and we flipped bullish. Same thing down here, roughly looking at the bottom of my charts. On March 3rd, we tapped into that 60-cent psychological level threshold, closed bullish back above it, and flipped bullish back to the upside. Same thing here, all in this area. When we had this melt off roughly on Tuesday, March 5th, we came down into this interesting area of 60 cents, broke back above it, price retested it, and we flipped bullish. So on the higher time frame, I've been looking at this 60-cent threshold, where if price, i.e. just thinking logically based off of historical price action over the past couple of trading days, can hold above this area 9 times out of 10, it comes back up to retest previous highs where price sold off from to get to that level. So that was one confluence, right? Just thinking in my head, well, if we can hold above 60 cents, and I'm going to be looking for positions that'll just further my higher time frame analysis to give me confidence in the trade. Remember, you always want to be trading in tandem with the higher time frame momentum. So if I see on the higher time frame that every single time XRP over the past consecutive couple of days has broken the 60-cent level or pushed down into it and closed bullish back above, we tend to have a bullish reversal. I'm just, again, trying to show you guys confidence in my trades and why I take them. All right. So higher time frame, what I would like to see on XRP, given the first initial analysis that I sent you all in the chat, right, which is a small decline, a deep retracement in price, one of these two scenarios, a break back above 60 cents, and then a bullish turnaround to come and target previous highs or higher levels. Okay. So that was my ideology going into this scalp position. Now, if that's going to happen, I'm not here to debate that. I'm just here to further stack reasons as to why I took this buy position, right? So that was in my mind. Now, second thing I did was, again, utilizing this methodology, which is buy when price is at a discount from where previous sessions bought from. So on the 2-hour time frame, we can see where previous sessions bought from. Now, we are currently in Asia session, so I specifically tracked where previous Asia sessions bought from below 60 cents. You can see back here on Tuesday, March 5th, when we had that sell-off during London and New York session before we rolled over into Asia session, we can see on the 2-hour time frame that Asia session bought from roughly around 57.5 cents before breaking previous bearish market structure and then continuing the temporary bullish order flow where we see higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high come into fruition after this Asia session was buying on the 2-hour time frame during previous sessions. So what I did is I then scaled down to the hourly time frame to dial in a little bit deeper, and I highlighted from roughly around the middle of this bearish candlestick to the bottom of the bearish candlestick and extended that area over to the right-hand side to say to myself, okay, if we're operating in a new Asia session, which we were today, and I want to be buying at a discount from where previous Asia session bought from, I'm going to highlight that area of interest and extend it over to the right-hand side, now gathering my Fibonacci tool, taking the fib from that Asia session low to where price started to retrace during this Asia session. I wanted to start buying once price came in to at least 62% discount from this previous Asia session. And during today's Asia session, we got that to the absolute T. right? You can see that on the higher time frame, on the hourly, price came down into roughly about, I'd say 75 to 76% discount from where the previous Asia session was buying from on the hourly and 2-hour time frame, right? So that was another stacking confluence in today's trade, is that I was buying at a discount from where a previous Asia session saw that this was a discounted enough price to gather up orders, build momentum, and drive price higher, right? So far we have, in the sense of confluences, 2-hour time frame, right? I was looking at the 60-cent psychological level major as an area of interest to be buying from, considering that previous sessions, every single time we broke above 60 cents or retested it and closed bullish above, we flip back to the upside. On the 1-hour time frame, using my session tracking methodology, by seeing that I'm operating in this Asia session, paying attention to where previous Asia sessions bought from, understanding that banks like to piggyback off of where they previously bought from, highlighting this area of interest and extending it over to the right-hand side, I wanted to at least be buying at a 62% discount from that level. So remember today, when I sent you guys that analysis, price was up here during New York session, right? So think about how much patience you have to actually become a profitable and successful trader. I had to wait till price came into my discounted area over 14 hours. So what does that require that you do? Set alarms, which I show you guys that I do in the private community. Be patient, not FOMO in, not think that the market's going to move without you, not force trades, right? You have to be okay with where price action is at, and you have to be okay and solidify what you want to see in the market before you take trades, right? I wanted to see price dip back down into that 60-cent threshold, which you can see during Asia session we got. I also wanted to see price dip back down closer to that Asia session discount from a previous session, which during this Asia session we also got. So you can see how my confluences started stacking, right? So now that we have that out of the way, the 2-hour, the 1-hour, I'm going to show you guys how I incorporate the delta zones to give myself further solidification that I'm trading with market maker momentum, where these banking institutions like to buy from. So let's just get rid of the session indicators real quick. And let's just show you guys again ahead of the curve. If you go to the XRP section, as always, Usman giving out these delta zones ahead of the time. You can see at 4:46 p.m., Usman updated these delta zones. And if I interpret them on the charts, looking at this delta zone at the 58,641 and the 59,576, we can see that the market makers pushed price down to the bottom of this delta, violated it, but then failed to close bearish underneath of it. And I noticed that, right? So now jumping down to the lower time frame, specifically capitalizing on the CYPRX confluences, right? What do we like to see before we look for buy positions? Obviously, of course, all of those higher time frame metrics that I just went over. Price respecting key psychological levels on the higher time frame, which I mentioned was this 60-cent white level threshold, right? Keep that in the back of your mind as we go down to the lower time frame. This white level right here is that 60-cent higher time frame 2-hour area of interest, right? Then on top of that, this gray box down here is that Asia session previously on the hourly time frame where price was coming down into a discount, and you can see this bearish candlestick coming pips away from the previous area where Asia session banks or whoever's in control of the market during Asia session are buying from, and respecting that psychological level and reversing, showing a clear demand from this previous area where previous Asian banks were buying from, or whoever's in control, Asia traders. You guys catch my drift, right? On top of that, now we have the deltas, right? So check this out. Here, right at the top of a delta, we see a liquidity trap where the market makers are enticing people to buy early. So you can imagine retail traders who have their candlestick colors green, who don't know how to control their impulsivity when green candlesticks are printing. You can imagine that they placed orders all in this area, building liquidity for market makers who tend to like to buy at the bottom of delta zones. You can see they came, they ran that liquidity, and then scooped up more orders at a further discount from where previous banking institutions, i.e. this gray level, bought from, clearing out any stop losses that existed in this area. That money's gone. So understanding that pattern that we like to trade, which is a violation of a low, and then waiting for that higher low to come in after, we got that right here, right? So what I started doing once we had this retracement on XRP, now we're on the 5-minute chart, is I started to scale down to the 1 minute. And I started to look for candlesticks that I could start to place buy stops above. My buy stop was above this bearish candlestick. So my ideology is that if the market makers violated this low, we're respecting higher time frame discount, i.e. this gray box, and we're failing to break bearish underneath of the delta zone, which we can clearly see here, bearish momentum, 1 minute chart, bullish trajectory that completely broke all of this previous bearish move. So now we know that this was a manipulative move, a grab of liquidity, and a bullish reversal that broke a previous market structure high. That gives us the green light to start to look for higher targets. Your higher targets are going to be the lower highs, where trapped liquidity, i.e. open sell positions, still exists from people thinking that the market is going to go lower, right? Not having these metrics in the back of their head, i.e. higher time frame discount, 60-cent region, previous area of interest where banks are buying from, and the delta zones, giving us all these metrics to be further confident in our trade. So once the market started to pull back, I was thinking to myself, okay, if we don't break bearish back below this previous manipulation level, and we don't push down to the bottom of the delta, then what are the market makers most likely doing? They're creating that higher low that's going to take the market higher to either liquidate these higher positions and then flip bearish so that these market makers can sell at a premium, or continue the move back to the upside. So that's going to present an opportunity for me to take a scalp position. Sure enough, in this candlestick, I think my entry was actually at the 5924. Or maybe it was a 3-4. So somewhere in this area, right? I placed buy stops on BidFi, the candlesticks, because this is a different exchange. This is Bitfinex. I couldn't find BidFi for some odd reason on TradingView. But the candlesticks look different. If you go on BidFi compared to the TradingView candlesticks, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but they look different. But anyways, I was entering all here in this area with a buy stop. Stop loss nice and tight beneath the, I believe it was 59-cent psychological level, where the market started to round out here. And I was simply just targeting take profit 1, a previous high, 1-to-1 RR, take profit 2, this previous high, right? Nice, simple scalp position, sound confluences in and out of the market, easy peasy, supporting metrics all the way from the higher time frame down to the lower time frame, right? So this is how I incorporate the delta zones, layered with waiting for price to come into a key psychological level that I pay attention to, i.e. I showed you guys that on the 2-hour, coupled that with waiting for price to come down into a higher time frame discount to use the closest delta level to that higher time frame discount that I gather based off of my session tracking methodology. Now, last but not least, to further solidify how I trade, another thing that gave me the confidence to take this trade is I know that market makers tend to like to move price action in 15-minute intervals. And sure enough, if you look down here at the bottom of my charts, 6:45 p.m. is when this move happened. So right when price was creating the higher low that led to the bullish move that cleared out the liquidity above these 3 highs was exactly at 6:45. So when I saw that bullish momentum come back in, I'm like, yep, these market makers are trying to get their order books nice and synchronized, right? They like that synchronicity. They like those round psychological levels and those round timestamps when they're getting audited, right? So boom, sure enough, 6:45 came in. Everything else from the top down solidified. That gave me even further confidence to hold the trade, to know that I'm in the right position for at least a scalp position, right? Remember, we're on the lower time frames now, so we can't just sit here and think that the market's going to go continuously up in our favor. We have to understand that if we're in a position And on the lower time frame, we start to see price action like this, not to get shaken out, because lower time frame price action could just be retracing to retest for further buys to then flip bullish again. It's why you have to take profit areas, not to be greedy, and to really understand trade management and what you're trying to accomplish in the market, right? So full trade breakdown, very easy. I gave you guys the analysis ahead of the curve, what I was looking for, letting you know that the 58-cent psychological level was the first area of interest where I was going to start to look for buys. Sure enough, sticking to my word, you guys see now, I took buy positions, giving you guys all that analysis ahead of the curve. I will continue to update you all as the week goes on. Probably won't touch the markets again until Tuesday during New York session. So that way we can see how the US data comes out and see how the market reacts to that, whether we see a further weakening of the dollar or we see market sentiment turn around, we see dollar strength come back on the table, and we see risk assets pull back slightly, give or take.